Okay, so we're gonna go over how to plumb the salmon aquarium that you just picked up. So we're basically gonna be connecting the chiller and the filter together. So really it's a matter of cutting this tubing that you got with your filter to specific lengths to attach the filter and chiller. So we'll kind of go over the first steps that we're gonna do. Both the chiller and the filter will clearly have inlets and outlets. So make sure that you're aware of that when you're putting this all together, just because it's very important for how it's all gonna work. So first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put our chiller here on the left side. That will work best for plumbing the chiller to the filter. You could put it on the right side if you want, but it's just gonna be more of a rat's nest of hosing. So we will take this guy, put it right there. So your chiller comes with two barbed fittings, and this is going to be what the hose goes around. It also comes with two hose clamps that you're going to use on those two barbed fittings. This chiller or filter is going to sit right about here underneath the stand, and basically water will get pulled into the filter, pushed out of the filter through the chiller, and then from the chiller back to the tank. So that's kind of where it's important to make sure all the ins and outs are lined up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with the intake of the filter. So in the canister filter you'll have a box of parts. These are like U fittings that will sit on the trim of your tank. One is designed to be the intake, one is designed to be the outflow. So we'll just kind of lift all of these parts. All right, so you'll see two pieces like this. Again, on the top, you will see one that says in, one that says out. It's important to get those right. So first thing we're gonna do is the intake of the filter. So we take the one that says in, and we've got some attachments that we're gonna add to it. There's that. And then, so these are gonna be basically the hose clamps that go onto the canister filter. So one will go on each barbed fitting there, and then the other will go on the barbed fitting on this bracket here. So again, there's 4 of them, 2 here, and then 1 on each of those. I guess while we're here, we'll put together the other elbow. So this is gonna be the outflow. So this is gonna be like that. And then this fitting goes there, and you have kind of a directional outflow. So now we have the in and the outs. Okay, and then we have various little suction cups that are just kind of designed to go on the back here to act as a buffer between the bracket and the tank. So we'll put one there, and then we'll put one here. Okay, so that is going to be basically a completed intake for your filter. So we'll go ahead and put this on the back. Just take this away. Okay, so that's going to be how it is. And then we are going to put the filter underneath. And again, we're looking at the inlets and outlets. So this is the intake of our filter. It's going to go to the inlet down here. So the next step is going to be measuring a piece of tubing that connects the in of the filter to the fitting on the tank. Okay, so one thing that makes life easy is putting the hose on these fittings before they go on the chiller. So, and this also, if you pull this tab, this whole housing comes out. So basically we can put our hose on here without it being all awkward underneath. So we'll go to the in. Actually, I'm gonna grab one of these and it's gonna go like this. There is a right and a wrong way for these to go on. You'll see on the edge here, there's these little notches. Those are gonna be on the outside of the fitting. So the little notches go here. We have the in. And that just slips over, and then basically these. Actually, I did it backwards. Take that. Okay, so actually these little notches go on the inside there. Yeah. So we're gonna do that the other way. And we go to the inlet. And those slip on much easier. If you find yourself trying way too hard to put that over, chances are it's probably backwards. Okay, so there's one. And then I did this backwards. Just kidding. I'm just gonna do it a bunch of times so you guys can see it. Okay, so actually no, that was right. Yeah, okay. Bring. Okay, so that's there. And now we're basically gonna put this back on the filter and measure the distance between this and the fitting that we put on the tank.
So to recap, you're putting it on the inlet right now.
Correct, because this is going to be water that's getting pulled
Yes.
into the filter.
Just want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah. So that goes there, and there's little arrows indicating how to remove it. So the arrow going in locks it back into place. So then we're going to take this guy, hose. And basically we're going to come back to behind the tank and we're going to kind of just put our hose to where that other barbed fitting is, make a notch, cut our pipe, and then we're going to grab another one of these guys, and that little notch I showed you is going to actually be on the closest edge that you cut. And on. Okay, so there's that part. Okay. So there is going to be the intake of the filter. And now we're going to do the output of the filter. Okay, so basically how it's going to go is we're going to plumb tubing from the output of the filter to the input of the chiller, and then the output of the chiller is going to be the part that hangs on the tank. So again, I'm going to remove this fitting just so it's easier to put this tubing on. Alright, so that's all good there. We're going to snake over to the chiller. And basically the reason why we are kind of cutting the tubing as we go is so that way we don't end up with not enough at the end. So we're just kind of using the exact amounts we need to plumb from point A to point B. Okay, so we have the output of the filter set. That's going to go to this barbed fitting here with one of these hose clamps. Okay, so the outlet of the filter goes to the inlet of the chiller. So again, we're going to kind of take a length, cut it out there. Cut it, put our hose clamp on, and then we will put our barbed fitting in. Okay, and then we'll put our hose clamp down. Make sure we tighten this guy. Okay, so that's tight, and then basically there's a gasket here that seals this to the chiller. So we're gonna put that in, and then this gets just spun tight on there. And so now we're gonna come from the chiller to the tank. All right, take this guy, and these. Okay, so and if you're having trouble putting the tubing on those barbed fittings, it's helpful to soak it in a little bit of warm water. Gets the hose a little bit more malleable. Okay, so there's that. And we'll tighten our hose clamp here. Okay, so hose clamp is tight. And now, same thing here with our gasket. This is going to be an area that you have to make sure these are tight, because this is an area where it could potentially leak from. So make sure that both of these are very tight. And then this is going to end up being our output in our tank. So we will and you'll probably end up with a little bit of tubing that you don't really need, but that's fine. And then we're going to take this little piece and that, and so that just slides on there. And then this collar just kind of slides over everything to look like that. And then we just got to put our suction cups on and hang it on the trim of the tank. more or less how you plumb your filter to your chiller. One thing that is important to note is that you're going to have to fill your filter with water to prime it. So take the filter to the sink and fill it to the brim, and then clamp the lid down. Kind of go over that process. So we're going to pull this tab that I showed you guys earlier, which disconnects our filter from our plumbing. And basically these 4 clips, you just kind of pop them loose, and then the whole top of the filter is going to come off. One thing that's very important is around the top of this filter there's an O-ring. If there's any debris or anything on that, your filter will probably leak. So it's important to at least take it off, look at it, maybe wipe it with a wet paper towel or something to make sure that that gasket is good to go. This is also where the motor of the filter is, just as an FYI. So we will turn that back on. So this filter has several baskets in it. Kind of pull all of them out and go through them. So this one is just going to be a foam that acts as like a mechanical filtration. It is important with these baskets, they like fit very perfectly together. If they're offset, the lid to the filter won't be able to close. So it's important that they're all nested properly. Also, there's a little notch out here that's going to line up with this little groove that's in the body of the filter there. So I'll pop that guy in. We'll go ahead and open up these bags of media. This, I think, is designed to remove ammonia. We have another foam pad. So we'll put all that back in for basket number 2. We have another one. So this is going to be more foam pads and more media. Alright, so we'll throw that guy in, and then we'll top with our foam pad, pop that in, and then this final one is just media that will grow bacteria, so we don't have to do much there. In the bag of spare parts, you also have little handles, and these are designed to go in these baskets, so you can see one here. Kind of pull this out, and basically this little clip just kind of goes in these little holes, and voila, you just have a little handle to make it easier pulling the baskets out. I guess while we're at it, we'll just do all 3. And all these handles do is just make it a little easier to remove them. So I'm just kind of get them clipped in. All right, so we'll put the foam back. Alright, so once all these baskets you've gone through and taken them all out of the bags, you're going to take this to the sink and basically fill it to the brim with water. The reason why you're going to do that is that's basically going to prime your filter so that when you clamp this lid on, water gets pushed up into the motor housing, so that way when you plug it in, it should start right up. So we'll go ahead. Also note that there's this little notch here, which corresponds with these notches on the baskets. So make sure those are lined up. So there. And I normally do diagonal. That, that. So our filter is good to go. We're gonna hook it back up to our plumbing. One thing that's also important, so there's O-rings here where the housing goes into the filter. This is an area where it could leak if it's not set properly. So make sure when you put it in, you'll kind of feel it click into place. And then when you push that tab in, you should feel it, you shouldn't be able to wiggle it much at all. So that's going to be that there. So you would go ahead at this point and plug in your filter and plug in your chiller. You might notice that your filter is making kind of a grinding noise. That's just the filter trying to purge air. There's a prime lever on the intake of the filter, and you basically just help the filter work the air out of it. And you'll notice when you do this, you'll probably see air coming out of your outflow. And basically you kind of do this until there's no more air and you noticeably see the filter running. Other than that, I would say get everything set up and come back to it in about a half hour to check for leaks. Places to check for leaks are going to be where it mounts to the chiller here and the bracket that goes into the canister filter, as well as the outside where that O-ring was that I showed you. Other than that, that should be how you do it.
Woo!
One take.